Charles Desmond Greaves was a man often described as the father of the Irish civil rights movement. Born on September 27, 1913, in Birkenhead, Liverpool, he came from a Methodist, middle-class family with both Irish and Welsh roots. His father, Charles Edward, was a post office official, and his mother, Amy Elizabeth Taylor, raised him in a home that valued education, discipline, and community. From an early age, he showed a love for science and ideas. He studied chemistry and botany at Liverpool University, where he excelled academically. But this was the 1930s, a turbulent time. Fascism was on the rise across Europe, and many young intellectuals were being drawn towards socialism and communism as a response. In 1934, while still at university, he joined the Communist Party of Great Britain, a decision that would shape the rest of his life. After graduation, he worked as an industrial chemist and even earned several scientific patents. His future in science looked bright, but politics kept calling. In his spare time, he was out on the streets of Liverpool, selling the Republican Congress newspaper in Irish districts and joining debates with the Student Socialist Society. He once said that the rise of fascism convinced him that neutrality was no longer possible. By the early 1940s, he had become deeply involved with the Connolly Club, a London-based group campaigning for Irish interests in Britain. Around 1943, the club merged into what became the Connolly Association. He quickly rose through the ranks. By 1948, he was not only a committee member, but also the full-time editor of the association's paper, The Irish Democrat. And this is where he truly found his calling. As an editor, he wasn't just editing. He was everywhere, writing articles, designing layouts, checking proofs at the printers, and then hitting the streets to sell copies outside Irish dance halls, churches, and pubs. Sometimes he joked that he wanted the paper to be like a radical Daily Mirror, snappy, colorful, and popular. The problem, of course, was money. Producing a mass circulation paper required resources the association didn't have. Still, he poured his energy into making the Irish Democrat a campaigning tool that connected Irish immigrants in Britain and gave voice to their struggles. This came at great personal cost. He gave up a secure, well-paid job in science to live on a near-poverty wage as a full-time activist. His friends later remarked that his choice to remain single was partly practical. He couldn't afford to raise a family. But he also admitted it was conscious. Marriage, he said, would take away control of his time. For him, revolution demanded total commitment. His leadership was not without controversy. Surveillance files also reveal how closely the authorities monitored him. Scotland Yard considered him anti-British and noted his contacts with what they called extremists. At one point, intelligence offices worried that he might be passing scientific information to the Soviet embassy after being dismissed from a research lab. Nothing was ever proven, but it shows how much attention he attracted. Despite critics and constant surveillance, he remained focused. His strategy was clear: to win the British Labour movement over to an anti-partition position. He believed that exposing the discrimination and injustices of the Stormont government in Northern Ireland would shift British opinion. And by the late 1950s, his efforts were paying off. The Connolly Association successfully pressured the Labour Party to question internment and other abuses in Northern Ireland, slowly shifting the political conversation. Through the 1960s, his Marxist analysis helped shape the thinking of Irish Republican leaders. Alongside figures such as Roy Johnston, he influenced the turn towards socialist republicanism. When the Republican movement split in 1969, the Connolly Association, under Greaves's guidance, supported the officials. For him, this was about anti-sectarianism and building unity, not deepening divides. Beyond his activism, he was a prolific writer. His books remain essential works of Irish history. The Life and Times of James Connolly, published in 1961, is still considered a classic. He also wrote Liam Mellows and the Irish Revolution and studies of Sean O'Casey and the Irish Labour movement. He even collected and published songs and ballads from the Easter Rising. He is often described as one of the most significant contributors to modern Irish left-wing literary culture. But he wasn't all politics. He had a lighter side, too. He loved music and languages, and could hold engaging conversations on almost any topic. Many younger activists sought him out for advice, describing him as a mentor, even a father figure. Republican leaders such as Gerry Adams and Danny Morrison later said they respected his sharp political mind and lifelong dedication to the Irish cause. Greaves never sought personal glory. He lived modestly, poured his energy into the Connolly Association and the Irish Democrat, and left behind a body of work that continues to influence debates today. When he passed away on August 23, 1988, at the age of 74, tributes came from across the Irish and British left. To honour his legacy, the annual Desmond Greaves Summer School was established in Dublin. In this forum, activists and scholars gather to discuss politics, history, and social justice. So, who was Desmond Greaves? He was a scientist turned activist, a tireless editor who sold his own newspaper on the streets, a Marxist historian who reshaped how the Irish struggle was understood, and above all, a man who gave his entire life to the cause of justice, equality, and Irish freedom. He may not be a household name, but his fingerprints are all over the civil rights history of Ireland and its diaspora. His story is a reminder of how one determined individual, armed with conviction and persistence, can influence the course of history.